All right, today I want to quickly go through the tank changes specifically in the most recent build that we have received. Now, for context, we have been testing the same build for the last month. Over the holiday season, we pretty much got no big updates or updates at all outside of Blizzard unlocking the extra dungeons for us to test because we were stuck kind of running the same four, so they unlocked the entire dungeon pool. Now, warning, I think these notes are extremely lackluster and are really telling about the game. So normally I'm pretty hopeful. I'm copium driven. After a month of testing, I would imagine that Blizzard would have a lot of data to go off of. They would have a lot of bug reports. They would kind of start knowing these things and prepping it for a large build after a month of not having anything. That is not the case. Bugs have not been addressed across the board for most of the tanks. You know, some have, but most haven't. There are new bugs that have cropped up, and their fix is to just aura damage buff some tanks. So anyways, let's get into it. So starting off with Death Knight, basically all they did was they did an aura damage buff by 15%. There are still a ton of issues and other bugs that have cropped up since then. Blood Death Knight, like I've said in previous videos, doesn't necessarily feel bad to play if you don't know about the bugs. And if you're not really doing like weird solo content or like the highest level of keys. But there's actually Kira posted the other day a 19 video of him in Algothar Academy as Deathbringer completing that in time. So high keys are achievable by these tanks. They're just very difficult. Now, most of the bugs that were in are still in. So things like armor, runic power generation, I don't think has been updated either. It's very easy to eat your Dancing Rune Weapon procs. And on top of that, Dancing Rune Weapon with Everlasting Bond is also not interacting as it should. So Sand Lane actually right now feels pretty much dead in the water because of how these bugs are interacting with the class. It's just really difficult for the class to actually play properly with these issues. Moving on to Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter also got nothing. They are in a very similar states, which is concerning because I believe that Eldraki Reaver is overperforming due to a bug with Thrill of the Fight, so they're just doing like 20% more damage during those windows. I have heard reports that Revel in Pain is also bugged and contributing way more healing and has like different iterations all packed into one, so it's actually just like way overpowered. So I think DH could be in a troublesome spot once they actually receive those bug fixes. But again, we're seeing absolutely no changes to Demon Hunter, despite there being some, fairly glaring issues. Guardian got a all damage buff by 20%, a 20% aura buff. As a lot of Bear mains have told me, and maybe you've seen also, Bear has so many like damage-based bugs in their kit that some people are speculating that even fixing those bugs would actually have fixed their damage. Yet, instead of doing that, or maybe specifically targeting key components of their like damage kits, they are just doing an aura buff. And so Druid of the Claw still has the issue where too much damage is baked into Ravage, and Elun's Chosen still has the issue of they don't do enough damage even with a 20% damage buff if they just fix the fucking bugs. So sorry, I'm just like a little heated from the like waiting a month for basically this. So Guardian Druid got an aura buff. This doesn't mean anything. None of these notes mean anything if they're still significant bugs with the class, and until these things get fixed, we're pretty much just going to be sitting on our hands. Moving all the way down to Brewmaster Monk. And as you might have guessed, nothing. Monk was untouched. I will say that I think Shado-pan Monk specifically is in a really good spot. I think it's arguably the playstyle is fun. Is it engaging? Is it complex? No, but I think it's fun and it feels really powerful. Good self-sustain, really good damage. Doesn't really rely on cooldowns, which is like a nice change of pace. Currently on live servers, like Dampen Harm and Fortifying Brew and Diffuse Magic are like key components of the Brewmaster, and you have to kind of rotate through them to stay alive. They have kind of gotten rid of that, and Brewmaster is just doing really well. I think it's one of the better tanks. Obviously, something like Prop Paladin has like a slightly better toolkit for Mythic Plus, but Brewmaster has been able to do some of the highest keys currently on beta, and I've been having a blast playing it as well. Now, Master of Harmony, on the other hand, the copium part of me is, okay, they didn't really make these changes. According to Megaset, I believe these were actually pushed to PTR like a month ago, and they just now finally put them into beta. So my hope, or my copium, whatever you want to call it, is that because of Monk's lack of notes, is that they're probably planning on doing something a little bit bigger in a future build. My concern is that Windwalker despite being the lowest damage, had one change, which was threat reduction, which is just super ironic. And Master of Harmony got nothing. And Master of Harmony is dead in the water right now for both Mistweaver and Brewmaster Monk, not just from a competitive perspective, but literally it just doesn't feel good to play. Like it's terrible to play. There's like a lot of friction with, at least for Brewmaster. I don't know. I can't really speak to Mistweaver, but there's a lot of friction, which is not good. We don't like that. So moving on to Paladin. Paladin got a few nerfs, and I think they're justified. And I actually surprised there weren't more nerfs because protection still does a ton of damage and is like fairly tanky. So Hammer and Anvil now deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. So there's probably a lot of footage you might have been seeing if you've been indulging in beta content of prop paladins just like keeping up with DPS or like beating DPS in big AoE pulls and just doing like ungodly amounts of burst damage up to like 600 or 700k or a mil in like Algothar Academy, for example. So this is an interaction with Hammer of Light. Oh, what Hammer of Light? Hammer and Anvil. Oops. Hammer and Anvil doing like uncapped damage and having more proc chances due to a talent called Sweeping Verdict, which makes your judgment cleave. So those cleaves also have the chance to proc Hammer and Anvil, which was just doing like insane AoE. Hammer of Wrath also during Wings has been reduced by 30%. Their single target damage is like a little bit higher than most other tanks, especially in like a more AoE or Mythic Plus designed build. So these are nerfs that we expected. These are the most rational things I've seen because protection actually feels like it's in a pretty good state. There aren't a lot of bugs that I'm aware of unless they're like super minor, and some obviously the interaction with Hammer and Anvil and Sweeping Verdict, but this is obviously being fixed by having it doing reduced damage beyond 5 targets. This was like the only normal note in here up to this point. Everything else, fucking, I don't know what Blizzard is doing, honestly. Anyways, let's actually just take a jump down now to Protection Warrior. So, Demolish damage increased by 20%. I think this is a really good start. My criticism is that Demolish didn't feel like it was doing enough damage to warrant being such a kind of like long cooldown. Now, it is part of the rotation. It has other like implications in your rotation or in your kit, right? It's applying deep wounds with the new hero talents. It's causing your next shield slime to automatically crit. The crit of your shield slime is increasing bleed damage, which then bakes back into deep wounds damage plus rend. So, you know, Demolish felt good to hit still, but I felt like it as itself wasn't doing enough damage per the ability. So good buff. Moving down a little bit, they also buffed Protection Warrior's revenge damage by 20%, and Phalanx increased by 10% as well for their Apex talent. Revenge damage feels good, but the concern that I have is when you're playing Colossus specifically, all of a sudden your top damage is basically revenge. And with revenge being your top damage, it's all of a sudden like, okay, so what if I have to spam Ignore Pain and I can't cast Revenge because I'm like taking a ton of damage all the time in a key? Well, it's then super contingent on the survivability of the tank. And that doesn't feel necessarily all that great. Now, of course, you know, if you're keeping Ignore Pain up, that's fine, but I'd like to just see like more damage in Thunderclap or Shield Slam, or just even Phalanx. I don't need Revenge to do an infinite amount of damage. You know, it's fine with, you know, best serve cold procs, but it would be really nice if more of their damage was baked into kind of like their core rotation and not this rage spender. This starts walking into the line like Guardian Druid is, obviously on a much different level because you're not like proc based with revenge outside of like best serve cold. But the concern is like having to spend rage to do the majority of your damage is like concerning when it comes to threat. Now, I didn't have any issues with threat when I was playing Colossus yesterday on stream. Outside of like a very specific scenario where like someone just pulled early or like a devourer decided to open a little too early. But outside of that, I think the tank feels good. It just feels really slow. I think Colossus, without having like a faster avatar like window, just doesn't feel all that great. Anyways, that's it for the tanks. Those were all the changes. I am deeply concerned now. I don't know if I'm dooming yet. We still have 6 weeks, but it was just I was expecting more for how much information I think that Blizzard has. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and the breakdown. I will be back streaming the rest of this week, most likely, testing out all the different tanks throughout different key levels. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.